Welcome to the Gary Abbott YouTube channel. Today, the market report, the Villages 2025 compared to the previous years. How did the Villages do in selling homes, both pre-owned, new homes? This is not the MLS. This is just about the Villages and their market report. Today, I'm not going to do a long video boring you with every detail that's in here. I will put a link to the report electronically if you don't already get it in the mail. If you're in the Villages, you probably already get this in the mail this week, most likely this week. So I'm not going to go into looking at each page and each section and, the Lake Sumter area versus the Eastport area. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to bother you. I'm going to go straight to my numbers and tell you how is the Villages doing. And this answers the bigger question. All those people on YouTube that say everybody's moving from Florida, it ain't the Villages. So here we go. Okay, I've got the market report up so you can see where I'm getting the numbers. This is the fourth quarter 2025. You got the market update. If you watched any of my previous videos, I don't care about pending. I could look at pending to try to guess what next year brings, but I'm not going to look at pending. I'm just going to look at homes and villas closed. And when you look at this number, this is the wrap-up report of the entire year. So year-to-date is all four quarters. You have quarter four and year-to-date. I just want to highlight a few numbers. Overall, this quarter, both pre-owned and new, they sold 1,590 homes for the fourth quarter. And in total, year-to-date, 6,468. So I took those closed average prices and took those numbers over to my spreadsheet, which we're going to jump right to. Now, if you go online or do the link or you get the report, you're going to see all of these other pages with Spanish Springs, what the pre-owned homes sell for in each area. So you're going to get this if you live in the Villages. If you're thinking about moving to the Villages, it is great that they tell us how is it going and what does it mean for my property that I bought here years ago. It tells you that this area is still sought after. Enough about that. Let's go to my spreadsheet. Taking me a second to get this lined up so I can put it onto your screen and show you. But here are every quarter there's a report in 2025. What you will see is I've plugged in the numbers for closed, average sales price, average days on the market. Pre-owned is first, and then new homes, same deal. Homes closed, average sales price, average days on the market. Then I put the total of the two, you add them together, and it gives you how many homes they close. And as you can see here, the first quarter was 1,473 total, all the way to the second quarter was the highest with 1,740, then 1,665, and then 1,590. So total homes closed appears to have had a peak in the second quarter. But I think that's because a lot of people in the first quarter of a new year start to go, I'm selling my home when I'm finished wintering in Florida and I'm putting it on the market. The second quarter, a lot of homes probably become available under the pre-owned. And that's really where the bigger jump is, because under new, homes closed, the most was in the fourth quarter, not the second. So it varies. Enough about those details. Let's get right down to the meat and bones. I have two rows here at the end The number of homes, if you compare the first quarter of 2024, LY means last year. And as you can see, every quarter they sold more homes than they did the year before. And I compare those quarters to the percentage of change. They were well over 10% for the first 3 quarters. They kind of matched the fourth quarter of last year, but when you look at it, that's not the lowest number of new home sales. It's the highest. So they were only 42 above, and I'm sure there's fluctuations depending on storms, all that kind of stuff that could hit. The real thing is the totals. It's amazing to me that they sold 2,949 pre-owned homes. That is a lot of homes. The average of those is 475. Now again, it's average. There's a lot less and there's a lot more. And the average days is 60 days on the market, which I think is typical for the past year. With interest rates up, with all of these things, 60 days and the number of homes on the market. But under new, they built new homes and sold 3,519 over the whole year. $457,000 is the average sales price. These are in thousands. I should probably put a K next to it. And the average days on the market is 21. That's low. But that's also got a little bit to do with they release them, and then you could kind of design your own home, and you're only given a few days to pick a lot, put your deposit down, and start that process. So you might not close for 7 months or 8 months. And so days on the market, it might only been 2 or 3. So the number is pretty low. It's because it's not the traditional. Now there are some other pre-builts that they do that you get to go, it's finished, and you end up purchasing. Those are going to take longer. But the average of 21, that's a pretty good number for new home sales. It kind of shows me that there's a lot of people, when you look at these numbers, there's a lot of people picking brand new homes, even with bonds and all the other things that you end up with a new home to consider. A lot of people like just having a brand new home. That's clearly what I can see from these numbers. So let's switch with comparing it to all the years from 2021. And here we go. This is the chart. I plugged in the new numbers for 2025, which took those totals. And in 2021, it was COVID. And in COVID, they sold 7,122 homes. We have not gotten back to that level. But after going down for 2 years in a row after that, in 2022, and going down again in 2023, we've been on the way back up to the point where we're back to higher than all of the previous 3 years since 2021. And I did this graph. New still outperforms pre-owned through the villages. Not necessarily, we're not talking MLS, the listing service, realtors that are in that field that can only sell the pre-owned. That's a different deal. And I've studied those, but you can see 2021 was higher for both segments, went down, on the way back up. That's it in a nutshell. If somebody tells you everybody's fleeing Florida, or you read the headlines, that this is, nobody's interested, that's just not true in the villages. I want to make this last point. I plugged in the numbers. I plugged in the numbers here. 2024 compared to 2025 by itself. You can see here, the pre-owned was more, but for an average price that was down a little. Maybe it was a little overpriced in 2024. And the average days on the market went from 51 to 60. The big news is comparing 2024 homes closed, you had another, 3,519 sold. And if you're looking at these numbers, you can see it's over 11% increase in both categories sold. So again, that's really good. So overall, instead of before, the 2023 to 2024, they only grew by 3.5%. And a lot of people would take that as a good news. But when you grow at 11.52%, 10%, that's a pretty big jump. And I put this footnote up top. David is in Florida, used to have a YouTube channel. I followed him to see what the numbers. MLS sells about 45 homes per week. Over a whole year, that equals about 2,340. So the MLS sells almost the same as the pre-owned for the villages. So if you want to just look at pre-owned, both the villages and MLS sell about the same number. But when you add in new, and only the villages can sell the new, that's a pretty big jump. And when you look at it percentage-wise, 6,433% or so is sold by the MLS. Not making any statements there or anything, just the villages has a pretty good market share of both pre-owned and exclusively on the new homes. But 11% increase in sales over 2024, that's a good thing. Again, I'm going to put the link in the description below. Take a look at it. This is a quick market report compared to my very lengthy ones in the past. Trying to make it quick, easy, and I don't think everybody's moving away from the villages. There's a lot of homes for sale. Doesn't mean the villages isn't still a place that people are looking at. It's not as bad as some of the YouTubers make it out to be. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and also thank you to the people on my last video who did super thanks. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It makes me encouraged to do more of these. Again, thanks. Thanks for watching.